You're listening to Something Cheeky, a collection of podcasts where two sisters discuss TV, books, and movies with just enough irreverence and far too many pop culture references. Welcome to Something Cheeky, the Gentleman Bastards edition, where we discuss Red Seas Under Red Skies, book 2 of the series by Scott Lynch. I'm Nikki.
I'm Rosanna.
While I've read the entire series, Rosanna has only read up to what we're covering today, which is Reminiscence number 2, Best Laid Plans. In this chapter, as the old Komori saying goes, when thieves make plans, the gods laugh. So listeners, before we get started, we have a new review that we are going to read. We've been meaning to read reviews on the shows all along, but we don't always remember everything that we mean to do, so we're starting now. This review is about our new movies show, where we have covered Wonder Woman and Spider-Man Homecoming so far, with more movies to come. It's from Film Roast Podcast. They say, great dialogue about big films, 5 stars. Something Cheeky mixes a knowledge of films with a side dish of sarcasm and irreverence. I love the Wonder Woman episodes where Nikki completely guesses how the movie will play out, and then discusses her thoughts after seeing the film. They work hard to defeat the stereotype that all Amazons have invisible planes, and chatted about the hilarious Secretary spin-off film. These two ladies are so much fun. If you love talking about pop culture and film while also referencing other pop culture bits of trivia, this is the pod for you. Thank you, Film Roast.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, guys.
That is great. Now's your chance to go and leave a review for us, and we will read it on air. It also makes a big difference. It helps our relevance in iTunes, so more people can find our podcast if you leave reviews.
And don't deprive them of us.
Definitely. Okay, Rosanna, what was your reaction to this chapter? Well, this reminiscence.
This reminiscence wasn't super long, but I liked that we're getting more in-between information. And this was a great start to how this plot was sort of, I don't want to say birthed, that sounds terrible. How this plot was hatched. And some of the planning that went into it. Obviously, there's still quite a bit more that we haven't learned yet. But we got a nice basis of what they were planning to do once they landed and kind of got set up.
Yeah, these reminiscences are very different from the interludes in The Lies of Locke Lamora.
Yeah.
Where they were all far in the past. Mm-hmm. This is 2 years in the past, at most.
And I had a hard time reading Jean instead of Jean the whole time. I'm just going to tell you.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I think in my notes I may start spelling it phonetically, just to remind myself.
That actually is probably really smart.
I didn't actually do it this time, but I'm going to have to.
But I might.
So if I say Jean instead of Sean, you can correct me.
It's just going to be a combo. We're going to go back and forth.
We need a little tally count. So what was your favorite quote this time?
The quote that I chose is by Jean. He's talking about how difficult it's going to be to break into the vault. He says, he says, worst of all, the inner vault is guarded by a live dragon, attended by 50 naked women armed with poisonous spears, each of them sworn to die in Requin's service. All redheads.
All redheads. I loved that.
I loved this. I loved everything about what Jean said here. It was amazing. I loved the part where he said redheads. Yeah. I love the poison spears. And my favorite part was the live dragon, of course, because I'm still all about my pygmy dragons in this sequence of books. So I was happy he threw that in.
I like that Locke right here is very Jon Snow-like, where he just keeps getting stuck with redheads. It was Ygritte and then Melisandre. Yeah. Just everywhere.
Yes.
Jean describing the whole vault thing was very Ocean's 11 with the George Clooney voiceover.
Yes.
All the things that are difficult about it.
Absolutely. I totally got that same image too, where I could, hear him talking, but I'm seeing as they're going through all these steps. This would be a very, very cool movie scene.
It would be.
Yeah, it really would.
So much in this book really lends itself to film or TV even.
I think so, yeah.
I know there's been a lot of talk on Reddit, in the Gentleman Bastards subreddit, but there's always talk about like the on-screen version of all this stuff and who people would cast and everything. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people say that it would make a better TV show, which I start to agree, unless it was a really long series of movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think that having it on TV, just a really good episodic version of it would be really fun.
Yes, I agree. It would be a lot of fun. Especially if you get the casting just right.
Right. Dylan O'Brien is Locke. Come on.
Yeah. He would just be perfect. How can you... I mean... He's best.
Though now he's got a ton of different movies coming out. He's getting pretty... I think he's probably getting pretty expensive.
Is he too big for TV now?
He might be. I'm amazed they got him back for... I'm amazed they got him back for at least part of the last season of Teen Wolf.
I was actually surprised too because he was doing so well in movies, but I'm so glad that he stayed till the end because Stiles is definitely my favorite character on that show.
Mm-hmm. So listeners, you don't have to watch Teen Wolf, but you should watch Dylan O'Brien's Something because he is the perfect mix of smart and mischievous. It's lovely.
Also, you should watch Teen Wolf because it's...
I don't know, it's bad.
Hilariously unrealistic. Totally
it is. It's
ridiculous and very entertaining.
It is so entertaining.
I'll tell you this. If you are someone that enjoyed the quirkiness of Vampire Diaries, you will like Teen Wolf.
Oh, yes.
So, if you thought Vampire Diaries was dumb, don't bother with Teen Wolf.
Even if you thought it was dumb. If you thought it was fun dumb.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
Fun dumb a word?
I would call it like a guilty pleasure.
Yes.
Like, I wouldn't talk to coworkers about watching it, because that might be embarrassing, but I would definitely talk to friends.
I'll tell the entire internet.
Exactly, but not
in a
people
podcast that will
but not
be
the people I
around
see
forever.
every day. Yeah, no.
Of course not.
That would be awkward.
So listeners, if you can't tell, Rosanna and I are both big fans of bad teen supernatural stuff.
So much.
Like books, movies, TV, all of it.
Love.
Just cannot get enough.
Okay, with one caveat though. The Vampire Diaries book series, horrible.
Oh god, horrible. So bad.
Don't read
so
those.
Bad.
They're so bad.
Also, the originals, also terrible.
And you know, that's crazy because I hardly ever say that the media, TV or movie version is better than the books. But in Vampire Diaries case, by 1,000 miles, the TV show is so much better than the books.
Also, True Blood, I feel that way about.
True Blood, the TV series, is better than the books?
Okay, so I probably shouldn't say that because it's technically not true.
Right.
The TV version of True Blood is batshit crazy.
Yes.
And it is so much more fun than the books, which are far more calm.
That's fair. What I would say is they are not similar enough to compare directly.
No.
They're like two separate things.
I think it probably
to
jumped
like.
the shark when Sookie became a fairy. Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty wacky.
Wow, we are way off topic.
Yeah, okay.
I will say one last thing about Teen Wolf.
Okay.
Here's one example of how ridiculous it is. The most recent episode had two men who are hellhounds. They turn into hellhounds. Mm-hmm. They were fighting, and they catch on fire. Like, their whole bodies, they don't burn themselves. And their clothes burned off, but they were both wearing special underwear that apparently did not burn off.
That was sad.
Which I might believe... I might believe because one of them is a modern dude, but the other guy just broke out of a mental institution. Pretty sure, like, he's been there 100 years. Pretty sure he doesn't have access to special panties.
Retardant
special boxers.
Underwear.
Yeah. That are the exact same color and length as the other dudes. It was...
Maybe he stole
it's stuff
them
like that
from
that just
him.
Makes me love it.
It's so great. It's so ridiculous and so much fun.
It's wonderful.
Okay. Back to Jean and
So
Locke.
red seas under red skies, yes. Let's get into the action. What little action there was, but it was really interesting. We got a lot of information.
Yeah, mostly information.
Locke and Jean are traveling to Tal Verrar from their ill-fated side trip to, what was it called? Valparaiso? Yeah. Mm-hmm. They are in a carriage, and Locke is working on shuffling with one hand, and he's not doing very well. But of course... we learned in the last chapter that he eventually did figure it out and did very, very well at figuring it out. So he's practiced quite a while, I'm sure. And Sean's going over notes on Requin. He apparently has done like a full-scale investigation of him.
He has like a dossier,
and I wonder
right?
where he got all this. Yeah.
I wonder if they bought it.
I doubt it. Here's why I doubt that. Because that would let somebody know, someone that they had purchased it from, that they wanted all the information about all different kinds of things on Requin and Sinspire. So all that information would be on one person instead of asking around for different pieces of information for all the people, so no one would put it all together.
So you think they got pieces?
I think that would be too risky.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it'd be way too risky to get all that from one person unless you really trusted them. But they don't know anybody here that we know of.
Right.
Or in Valparaiso. So yeah, they just don't have their, at least not that I know of, I don't think they have a network here anymore. I really liked that we, for the first time, got to see pre-work for a con that they were running.
Yeah.
It would have been fun to see that part of the story for Lies of La Camorra, of how they found out about everything and how they put together all the plans for the Don Salvara game. So here's what we learn about Requin himself. Not much. He's in his 40s, and he won the Sin Spire, supposedly, on a bet, and then almost immediately threw the previous owner out the window, which I guess started the tradition of throwing cheaters out the window to die 9 stories below. Start with the old person and the old owner. He's also close with the Priory Council, which is kind of like a merchant council, tradesmen and the like, craftsmen.
The Priory are the Tal Verrar Chamber of Commerce.
But that's scarier, I think. They're really powerful, it seems like. Though, I'm sure in small towns, Chamber of Commerces can get pretty. Chambers of Commerce, sorry. Would it be Chambers of Commerce?
Yeah, Chambers of Commerce. It wouldn't be Commerces.
Chambers
that wouldn't
of
make
Commerce.
Any sense. Yeah.
Well, I always make sense, Rosanna. Always. Yeah, I was thinking, in small towns, it seems like Chambers of Commerce might have a decent amount of power.
Definitely.
I don't know.
Yeah. I come from a small town. I would say yes, that's true.
I can't say I have thought of a Chamber of Commerce in many years, so pretty sure they don't have big presence in Portland. Unless I'm missing something.
Maybe the Portland Chamber of Commerce is just like really sneaky about it, so you don't hear about it. But they're turning all sorts of cogs in your city that you don't know about.
My God. The Shanghai tunnels never stopped.
It's probably because of them that you buy a certain kind of shampoo and apples. That's all mind control from the Chambers of Commerce.
I have a lot of apples in my fridge right now.
You put apples in the fridge?
Dun, dun, dun. I like them cold.
Huh.
Barbarian.
Okay.
They're good cold and sliced really, really thin. That's the best tasting apple you can possibly eat.
So chips.
But cold and squishy, not crunchy. I mean, crunchy in the way that apples are crunchy, but not crunchy in the way that chips are crunchy.
Okay.
I feel like you're not understanding my love for thin sliced cold apples here. You don't get me, Rosanna, anymore. You just don't.
Okay, I don't know that that's necessarily something I need to know about you to continue being your sister and your co-host.
Fine. The listeners care, don't you, listeners?
Oh, I'm sure.
You care about my snack choices.
Your apple options.
I'm sorry, I just have you keep saying apples and I have the Fruit Wheats jingle stuck in my head. Fruit Wheats, the cereal, apples and raisins. Was it Fruit Wheats or Fruit something?
No, it's Fruit Wheats, but I don't even think they make that anymore. How old are you?
Younger than you.
What kind of weirdo sings jingles from old TV commercials? Oh, don't we have a Lady Pod Squad podcaster that, is it something about the 90s? The 90s hour?
Yes, we do.
They're always posting amazing commercials from the 90s.
Oh my God, I need to watch those.
They're hilarious and very nostalgic.
Nice. Listeners, I swear this isn't all filler because this chapter is so short. I swear. Believe me. Woo, woo.
We're just really interesting this week.
Oh, the off-topicness. Okay, where were we? Requin threw people out windows? Yes. That's kind of all we know about him. We learned in the previous chapter that it sounds like he and Selendri are in a relationship. But we don't hear about him being married, having a family, anything like that. Or who he was even before. But he's pretty formidable at this point. I wonder about his past. Do you?
I'm more concerned about Selendri. What is it, Selendri?
It's cylindrical. Or cylinder.
Selendri.
Cylinder. The Sin Spire is a cylinder. I don't see why that wouldn't work.
Can I call her Silly?
You're not going to remember that though, are you?
No, I'm not.
Call her what?
Silly?
Villy?
Silly. Like silly.
Silly.
Like take out the middle of her name.
Yeah, that sounds weird.
Selendri. So wait, what is it?
Soliloquy.
No.
That's why we're trying to come up with a name because I can't remember it.
We're just gonna call her Soliloquy, honestly.
Soliloquy? Alright, name is
Yes.
Soliloquy now.
Okay.
It's official.
So I think that I would be more scared of Soliloquy than of Requin.
Is it because of the weird bladed hand, like the chick with the bladed legs on Kingsman?
That's a very big part of it, yes. She seems more like cutthroat, less. She seems more uptight. Like she's not willing to. You know how she in the last chapter she's not willing to give Locke a little bit of room to talk to, and I think that's smart. It's smart of her because then she can't get talked into or out of anything. But that's why I would be more scared of her because it seems like with Requin he had a little bit of wiggle room to kind of turn him towards his direction. But Soliloquy was having none of it.
I also feel like she gets the whole irony of Locke saying, or Leo Kanto saying that you can't cheat the games, but you can cheat the people, right as he's trying to convince Requin of something. And Requin is mostly buying it. Selendri was not, and I think she is smarter, or at least sees the situation for what it might actually be. Well, even before Soliloquy showed her hand blades, whatever you want to call them, she was scary before that. That just made her more physically imposing than she had been before.
Yeah, I would be scared of her.
Locke and John are talking about the vault. We're getting the overview of what the vault has. And Jean says, the details on the vault itself are much more solid. Apparently Requin doesn't mind letting some of the facts get out. Thinks it dissuades thieves. They always do, don't they? Said Locke. They figure there's about 50,000 Solari in the vault just to cover the Sinspire's games, any winnings people get. Plus, there's all the money that other people around town and who knows how far out that people put their money in to keep it safe. It sounds like a lot to keep it safe from taxes. Mm-hmm. But also, this is basically the most secure place, even counting the Archon's residence. It's even more secure.
He's vault. Like a Swiss bank, right? Where they hide their money and where nobody can get to it and nobody can know about it.
Yeah, it's a weird mix between a Swiss bank and Fort Knox.
It's Swiss Knox.
I keep all my money in Swiss Knox banks.
Oh, now I want a shirt that says Swiss Knox Bank.
Whenever I hear anything about Swiss banks, I can't even say experience because it's not even my experience, but the only knowledge I have of it comes from the Bourne Identity movie with Matt Damon when he went to the Swiss bank.
Oh, yeah.
And they had the red velvet trash can liner that he used as a backpack for like half the movie.
Oh my gosh.
And I was so impressed that they had something like that. Why would anyone ever have that in a trash can? That's insane.
Maybe they change it every day like the carpet.
Oh, God.
They just throw it out every day.
Oh, Barsavi's carpet. Oh, no, that's not Barsavi's carpet. What was that? Oh, that's
the
Inspire's carpet, of course.
Yeah, because they have so much money.
Barsavi's carpet is the one he did not throw out. Yeah. Any listeners that are super rich, can you tell us if people are that extravagant with their trash can liners? I want to know. Requin also supposedly, allegedly, has a mystery ledger. They're not quite sure exists, but, well, who knows what exactly is in it, besides what money maybe is in the vault and who it belongs to. But it sounds like that could be a nice thing to get your hands on. He probably keeps it on him at all times or something. There are 4 attendants at minimum on each floor of this Inspire, plus dealers and waiters, etc., all the different people. And the 3rd floor lounge has even more people. And most of these people are ex-soldiers and mercenaries, city thieves, and all that. He hires criminals, for the most part, and then pays them really well. And a lot of them can get tips worth like a year's wages. So they're pretty hard to bribe.
We even saw Locke and Jean give their dealer a huge tip. So it seems
That's
like
right.
that could probably be a fairly regular thing.
Makes me want to go work in a casino.
Yeah, you never know when somebody wins big and feels very generous. Maybe not a small one or a local one, but maybe a big one in Las Vegas.
So the vault has 3 doors. 2 of them have inches thick wood, and it sounds like a fancy kind of wood that maybe has some metal in it too. I'm not sure. And the 3rd door is basically metal backed, you're not going to be able to get through any of them. And they all have clockwork mechanisms in them, too. So we've got our steampunk vault. Mm-hmm. So at this point, the first time I read this, I was imagining a vault. Like, maybe a bank vault with, like, the safety deposit boxes where it's just one little room. Until I read the part where one of the sections, the very first one, has a whole bunch of guards that live in there for a week at a time. They can withstand a week-long siege if they need to. They have cots and they sleep in there. And it's 8 to 10 guys.
I thought that was really weird.
Way bigger than I originally anticipated. And they also think there are traps. He says that's what the rumors are. Pressure plates, counterweights, crossbows in the walls and ceilings, contact poisons, sprays of acid, chambers full of venomous serpents or spiders. There's all kinds of stuff. And we don't know how much is true. That could also be one of those things where Requin just spread the rumor himself. He just said it to somebody. It's completely a lie, but it got passed on. So who knows? Do you think there are any traps in the vault?
I would lean more towards yes than no, because when Locke was talking to him, he seemed very confident that nobody was getting anywhere close to his money. Especially because they've got this whole setup of these locking wooden mechanisms. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they also had some sort of alchemical mix that was poison, or I'm thinking very like Indiana Jones trying to get into a cave with like spears flying back and forth. And
when they said the traps, I was thinking Indiana Jones with a boulder. I think there's a boulder coming out of the sun's or the sun spire.
And it goes around the building on the outside, and you could just see this little guy running in front of this boulder all the way around the whole building.
That goes all the way down to the bottom like one of those barbershop
exactly.
Oh my god. Do you think we'll ever see inside the vault?
Definitely.
All right.
I think Locke's going to get in there.
Okay. They never open the vault unless Requin is there, which is an additional security measure. So it seems like Selendri doesn't even have access to get in there without him. At least that's the rumor. We don't know how much, if any of this stuff is actually true.
Right.
Oh man, can you imagine if Requin had to be so smart to spread all these rumors about all this stuff in the vault, and if somebody actually makes it in through the first door, it's just as impenetrable, but it's something completely different that people are not prepared for at all.
Oh, yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be the really smart way to do it, because then you can't prepare for it.
Yeah.
But, like Locke has been saying since the beginning, he's not trying to cheat the physical, the physical barriers.
Yeah. He's cheating the person.
Cheating people, yeah.
He's a confidence man. You can't con a vault door.
Right. And it's crazy to me that Locke laid it out for him. He said, this is how I cheated. And while I'm telling you how I cheated, I'm cheating you. I'm pulling you into my trap right now. And Soliloquy was not having any of it.
I love that you're still calling her Soliloquy.
But I think he's got Requin on the hook.
Yeah.
So
when we get back to Jean and Locke talking about it again, even though Jean was the one telling all the things about the vault, it took me into, like you said, a kind of montage of the different parts with the voiceover, the different parts of the vault. But we get pulled back into Locke and Jean actually talking. And even though the vault is going to be so tough to get into, Locke says they can't cheat the Archon because he has just a huge military presence, and it would be very dangerous. I mean, the Sinspire is a pretty dangerous place to be cheating and running a confidence game, but that's different from cheating a guy who has his own army.
Right.
And a ton of resources. Also, they can't cheat the Priory Council because they started out as regular people, regular tradesmen, and they'd be much harder to get anything past. Because they aren't the high and mighty rich people from the start who think that they are untouchable.
Right.
Which makes them so much more vulnerable, as we learned in the last book.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the part in the chapter which always drives me crazy whenever I see this in movies, where Locke basically leans over and whispers to Jean his whole plan and we don't get to hear it. I hate when they do that.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Why whisper? You're just both in a cart. You're talking out loud this entire time, and this is the time where you need to whisper?
Yeah. And I'm not sure he actually whispers, but it feels that way because that's, in so many movies, somebody leans over and whispers their, like, last words or something, and then you find out an hour later in the movie what it actually was.
He might as well have whispered because we don't know what he said.
Yeah. Jean is okay with the plan. He is worried that Locke might break down on him again. And this begins a little tiff between the two of them. Locke is pretty defensive about it, and his whole time when he was really depressed and basically useless and destructive. And Jean had to kind of slap him out of it. But they get over it and he apologizes. And it's really sweet. Locke says, I want it to be us against the world, lively and dangerous, just like it used to be. Where there's no room for this sort of second guessing, you know? Because we're constantly inches from a horrible bloody death, you mean? Right. The good times.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. They always feel more alive when they are in massive danger.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes them talking about a retirement later seem like they are both in denial that they would ever be happy that way.
Yep.
They will not. I cannot see them retiring and not just immediately starting to con everyone in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We also find out that Locke and Jean have 3 identities that have associated accounts that they've been using, which I didn't realize they had built up such a huge number of accounts because they burned the other ones already.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense to already be established identities to have those somewhere. I never thought about it, but once they said it, I was like, oh, well, I mean, that makes total sense.
Yeah. They're going to pretend that they are from Talisham, that they met 5 years ago on a sea voyage. We became business partners out of sheer boredom. Since then, we've been inseparable. Except that my plan calls for me to be plotting your death. Yes, but I don't know that, do I? Boon companion, I suspect nothing. Jump. I can hardly wait to see you get yours.
It seems a little strange, though, that the story is they met 5 years ago and they're business partners and they've been together ever since. Doesn't that kind of make it sound like it's a romantic partnership also?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It really does. Yep.
So, and I guess maybe that doesn't come up. That's not a weird thing to people? Or they just don't care?
I can't say I remember any. Okay, I'll say this. We have not seen any homosexual relationships so far that we knew were.
Right.
I mean, I haven't seen anybody that even could have been otherwise, even without us knowing.
Right. Well, maybe it's just a non-issue. Maybe just they are a couple or they aren't, but it doesn't matter.
Now, we do not know.
But it does seem a little odd that they're business partners, but they call themselves inseparable.
This is my roommate. We've been living together for 20 years.
We're very good friends.
Yes, we are confirmed bachelors.
We share a toothbrush.
I don't love anybody that much.
That would be pretty gross.
They have one identity left that they haven't used yet. It's Milo Vorlin that they're going to save for later in case they need him. I always feel like stuff like that is going to come up later. If they say something with that much specificity, we're going to hear it again at some point.
I think so.
Which actually, I don't trust Lynch to do that the way I do with other writers. Because we do get a lot of information from him that we don't necessarily see again. And sometimes I wonder if he purposely puts it in just to throw us off track.
A red herring?
Yes, there is the phrase for that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have many times wanted to be able to use that in a conversation, and that's the first time it's ever worked out, so I'm really proud of myself.
Congratulations!
Yay for vocabulary.
And they talk about taking the money that they steal and retiring, buying a title and some lands, becoming viscounts. And the reminiscence ends with the lovely line, "It'll be good to be the predators again," from Jean. I love it.
Same.
Rosanna, do you have any ideas on how Locke and Jean got into the crossbow showdown in the prologue? I'm going to ask you every episode. Any more clues in this chapter? There was the tiff they had.
Yeah, based on the last chapter and this reminiscence, Jean somehow is going to have a private meeting with Requin, and he's going to offer Requin something that will appear to be better than what Locke is offering. So Requin will switch sides. So somehow it's going to work out that Requin decides to help Jerome kill Leocanto instead of Leocanto killing Jerome.
Do you think it's Jerome?
It could be. So that's who Jean is referring to when they're in that showdown with the crossbows. He's talking about Requin being the boss and turning him.
He said my employer. He never said Requin.
Right, but that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
I think. Does he say my employer or your employer? I thought, was he not talking
I think
to
he
the
said
guys?
our employer.
Okay, maybe that's it. Maybe somehow the plan is for Jerome to, I'm going to go with Jerome now. Jerome to offer his service to Requin because he's going to betray Leocanto as somebody that's trying to trick Requin. Sort of like when they did the whole pretending to be Midnighters. So you pretend to be the good guy to distract from what's happening. You know, don't look at one hand. Don't watch one hand so you don't see what the other hand's doing. That kind of thing.
They are magicians.
Yeah, I think it's all about distraction and misdirection. And I think that's what gets them to that point.
But Locke doesn't know about this. So why do you think Jean has made this separate plan without telling him? Because that's pretty new for their relationship. Locke is generally the one that makes the plans. Even when Jean does, he generally fills Locke in.
Maybe something happens that they didn't plan for. Something changes very quickly, and Jean just has to come up with something on the fly really quick. Otherwise Locke's going to get shot with the crossbow. Jean realizes he's going to have to switch right now at this point, when maybe the plan had been to do it later or something, because he knows something that Locke doesn't know, and he's trying to keep, because if he says I'll shoot him instead of you guys, then he's protecting Locke from being shot by the other guys.
And Locke did say when he was playing Leocanto for Requin that he wanted to be the one to kill Jerome.
Yeah, and that makes sense that they both use that as a way to keep them from being killed by somebody else.
Okay. So you're still fully in the camp of Jean did not betray Locke.
Yes.
Okay.
I just can't, that's just not his character. It's just not like him. And I can't see Locke doing anything in the meantime to make Jean so mad that he's willing to turn on 20 years of not just friendship, but of family.
Yeah.
I mean, what could Locke do? I mean, that would be pretty bad. They've been through so much together already. I just can't see him turning on him after all that.
What you said about 20 years does remind me that we got confirmation that now they're 27 or 28. Still so young.
And they really have lived as brothers for so long.
Yeah.
It's so much
Or
more
were they
than
going to be 27
friendship.
or 28 at the end of the 2 years?
Oh, I think he said when they were ready to retire, they were going to retire at 27, 28.
Yeah,
So I think
that's right.
So they must be like 26, 25.
Because they were 25 and they were 24, 25 in the last book.
Right. They're so young.
They are so young. Good God. Well, in the next episode, we're going to discuss the next chapter, chapter 3, called Warm Hospitality. What do you think? So in the last chapter, they were kidnapped. And taken to a boat.
So maybe somehow whoever kidnapped them is not an enemy?
Okay. It's a nice way to introduce yourself. I know whenever I meet new people, I like to hog-tie them and put hoods over their head before I show them my face.
Well, maybe the person that they're going to see that's going to maybe give them a warm welcome knows that they're being watched by Requin and does that so it doesn't seem suspicious about having friends, maybe?
Unless it's a sarcastic chapter title.
Well, I wouldn't put that past Lynch either. Or maybe it's warm because they like put them in a pot that's on top of a fire and
are they frogs?
They're going to boil them. They're torturing them by cooking them from the inside out.
Boil, boil, toil and trouble.
I don't know what my deal is, but I want it to be a warm welcome. I don't want it to be sarcastic. I just want people to be nice to people.
You are reading the wrong book series if that is what you want.
Well, it's your fault because you picked it. So.
And now you're hooked.
If you turn me from an optimist to a pessimist to a cynic, then everyone that ever interacts with me just has you to blame for my attitude.
Can't we blame our parents? Aren't we supposed to blame our parents for how we turned out?
No, it's not their fault anymore, Nikki. It's yours. You get all the blame.
I'm the new scapegoat. Damn it. God.
Always the youngest.
Okay, Rosanna, what's your top 3 category this week?
My category is the top 3 parts of the plan that were discussed from the beginning. Number 1, the need and use of a climbing harness and carpenter. That makes me very nervous because somebody's going to be on the outside of this spire and very, very high above the ground.
Yes. 60 yards, they said.
That's pretty scary. The second part of the plan is that they expect it to take at least a year or two, and that they're merchant speculators from Talisham, which translates to the modern venture capitalist, which is a made-up title that doesn't mean anything. I have no idea what those people do.
They put the sham in Talisham.
Because they... Because they have a lot of money, so whatever it is, it's lucrative, but I'm not sure what the actual work is. So.
Yeah.
And then the last part of the plan is that they're already planning for Leocanto to want to kill Jerome.
Yeah.
And apparently they have more of the plan figured out. We're just not allowed to know it. So those are just the 3 pieces we got.
I will say about the last part you said, it's nice that we know that's part of the plan from the beginning, not some improvisation they had to make something else work.
Yeah, it seems like that was part of the plan from the beginning, but maybe the improv came when they had to switch. And so maybe that's why Locke doesn't know, because the plan had to change before Jean... I don't know. Do you have enough hand signals to explain that everything we planned is completely turned around and we have to do the opposite of everything and just go with it? I don't think there's a hand signal for that.
There's probably a hand signal for, trust me.
Maybe there's somebody watching that knows that they're good at hand signals, so he couldn't even give that away.
Maybe. I hear a lot of excuses, Rosanna.
I'm gonna keep coming up with ways that it's okay that Floki killed Torstein.
This is not Viking.
I'm always gonna try to figure out a way that the person I like didn't actually betray the other person I like. I'm just gonna keep trying to find ways that it was okay and that this true friendship or brotherhood was not betrayed.
So much denial.
Maybe.
I mean, granted you were right in that case, but...
Thank you!
Can't always be right.
Oh, I am very aware of that fact based on almost every other prediction I've made. But yeah.
Your track record. Speaking of other predictions, what is going to happen next?
Well, I guess we'll find out who kidnapped them, and I wouldn't go so far as to say we'll know why yet, because I feel like Lynch is really good at sort of stringing us along with explanations. We never really get enough for what I would like to have anyway.
Yeah. Until the last chapter, and then it all gets tied together.
Right. I can't decide. I'm leaning towards whoever they're taken to, they know already.
Oh, okay. Know personally, or know of, or what? Is it Sabbatha?
Is it? Is it Sabbatha?
Is
Nikki?
it?
Is it?
Is it Sabbatha, Rosanna?
Nikki, is it Sabbatha?
God, I love torturing you.
I think it's going to be somebody they know. And I don't know who it's going to be. I can't pin it down to that, but I just think it might be somebody they know.
Is it the spider? Has she traveled to
I don't think
Tal
so.
Verrar?
I don't think she has.
Is it the new spiders?
I don't think it's them either.
Salvaras?
I think they're busy enough in Comor.
Do you think it's Bond's Magi?
Maybe it's somebody... No, I don't think they need to use hoods and take away weapons and that kind of stuff. That's way more production than the Bonds mages need.
It is dramatic, and they seem to like that.
That's true. They are very dramatic.
They are drama queens.
And I'm not necessarily saying that this is going to be a character that we as readers know, but
Okay.
But I think it might be
somebody... so someone they know from their past?
Yes.
That we haven't met?
Right, from somewhere.
Okay.
From some time. I don't know
how... Like Sabbatha?
Exactly. But maybe we've never heard of this person, but when they get there, they're going to say, oh, it's you.
Okay. And why are you such a jerk to tie me up? That's not cool, man.
Yeah, that sounds like something they'd say. Not cool, man.
All right, give me some predictions about the con with Requin. How are they getting into that vault? Because do you think Locke's going to make it into the vault? How? It seems pretty impenetrable so far, from what we've heard Jean describe about it.
I keep thinking that Requin's going to take Locke into the vault. Somehow Locke's going to talk him into it. I think at some point Locke and or Jean will false face. I think we're going to use disguises again in this book, which I'm really hoping I'm right about that because I really like that part.
Yeah.
I think that Soliloquy is going to continue to not trust Locke as Leocanto. I was going to say, I don't think he's ever going to get her on his side.
So you don't think he's going to get her to walk him into the vault?
I don't think so.
In the Lies of Locke Lamora, there were a lot of weird things that went wrong on purpose in some cases because of enemies or just things that happened badly. The timing was bad, things like that. Do you think that kind of bad luck streak is going to continue in this book?
I'm sure that whoever has kidnapped them, whether friend or foe, is going to put a kink in the plans that they've already made.
Okay.
Just the same exact way that the Grey King did. Just got all up in the middle of the business and made everything harder. Seems like their luck that that's what would happen. And, I talked before when we were trying to figure out why they were doing this job to get a bunch of money and what was going to happen. And we decided that they weren't going to be the kind of people that retire. And I said I didn't want it to be about money. And I like that we found out that it's not about money. It's about the work. It's about doing the job together and doing what they enjoy and helping them move on from their grief and get back to, sort of repair their own relationship as they do something that not only they enjoy, but they're also really good at. And for me, that's enough of a reason to do it. That's a reason that I can get behind, no matter what they do with the money at the end.
It just occurred to me that Locke and Jean and the twins were the same way. They have something in common with Chinese and Russian gymnasts, Olympians.
Okay.
Because they were trained to do this one thing from when they were incredibly young.
Yes.
And that's what they do, and that's what they've been focusing on for all these years.
And they're pretty sure they like it, but they're not totally sure because they never were given the choice.
Well, and Sean mentions he could set up another silk trading business like his parents, which he had the chance to actually know another type of work, unlike Locke. But even then, I think that he likes it too much.
Well, and if anybody was going to settle down out of any of the Gentleman Bastards, I think it would be Jean. But I don't know that he would at this point now.
Everyone else would have gone crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, there's still a chance he can be a Viscount, and he can bring his secret girlfriend from Camor, and they can be happy together.
And he's the only one that had parents long enough to remember what it was like to be part of that kind of family. So maybe Locke doesn't really know that he wants that because he doesn't know what he's missing.
Yeah.
But Jean does.
And his ex-girlfriend is 1,000 miles away, or however far Tal Verrar is from wherever the heck Sabbatha is.
Yeah. And just because she's his ex-girlfriend doesn't mean that, they were together for 5 years. We have no idea how long the relationship was or how serious it was. We know that, or it seems that they were in love, but, that could mean a lot of things.
So I know you haven't met Sabbatha, but do you think that they are endgame or OTP, if you want to use the internet parlance?
That seems like a logical assumption to me.
Okay.
And I would love to say that I'm going to root for them, but I don't know enough about her to say if I approve or not. As Locke's mother, which I've decided I am, I haven't decided if Sabbatha is good enough for him, because I don't know anything about her.
We said early on that any woman that would have Locke is a woman we would like.
That's true. But they're not together now, so obviously something went wrong.
Yeah.
It went so wrong she left and went 1,000 miles away. So, and this was a time when there were no airplanes, so it's not like this was just a hop and a skip. It took a lot of effort for her to get this far. So, I just feel kind of motherly towards him because I just want him to be okay. I still remember him as this tiny little baby orphan that already knew how to steal because his life had been so difficult already.
Yeah.
It's just hard not to
very sad.
Care about him, A
little kindergartner Locke.
The teeny tiny serial killer that we love. Just like Arya. She's a teeny tiny serial killer that we love.
We do love her. Now it's time for Cheek of the Week, where we talk about something amazing that we love and want to share with each other and with you. Rosanna, it's your turn this week. What is it? What's yours?
So this week, my cheek is somewhat of a duplicate of past cheeks because it's a Funko Pop doll, which I have talked about Funko Pop dolls in the past, and it is and it's a gift from Nikki, the best sister ever, who always surprises me with gifts.
Your
that
only
just
sister.
show up. That's true. But you're the best one out of all the sisters in the world, not just out of all of my sisters.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, thank you. So, because you're so good about picking out something that you know that I would like, but then not telling me about it, and then one day it just shows up at work, which anytime I get a present, A++, anytime I can stop doing work at work for a while and open a present, ++, all good. So, this Funko Pop doll, this time, to add to my amazing collection, is Moriarty from the BBC Sherlock series with the Queen of England's crown on his head and little tiny earbuds and his little tiny sneakers, and he is the most adorable little Funko Pop doll. I love him so much. His crown is almost half the size of the full doll. It's huge. It reminds me of every time I look at it, it reminds me of that scene from the show where he's got the music blaring and he's wearing the crown and he's won the scene. It's amazing. Andrew Scott is amazing.
He really is. Listeners, if you don't know, I think maybe Rosanna's top 5, maybe even top line of the entire Sherlock series is Moriarty saying, "You should see me in a crown.
You should see me in a crown." Oh, it's wonderful. Oh, he's such a good villain. I love him. Oh, and then also, since he's sitting on my desk at work, I didn't even put him with the other pop dolls yet. Now he has his own place right now. And so on the top of the crown is like that little piece that looks like a cross, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just the right size and shape for me to sit my reading glasses on when I'm not wearing them because I'm 100. I have to wear glasses when I'm looking at the screen for a long time at work.
Yeah.
So, but when I take them off, they fit right on top of him perfectly. And he looks like he's there just to hold my glasses for me. I should take a picture of it with the glasses actually on it.
Yes. I just had a terrifying thought.
Okay.
At first I was thinking we should get him one of those little iron thrones to sit him on.
Oh, uh-huh.
And then I thought, imagine Moriarty on the Iron Throne. That would be the most terrifying king ever.
That would be even scarier than Cersei, and that's saying something. He would be a terrifying
He could totally
king.
outwit Varys and Littlefinger.
Oh, in his sleep.
Easily. He's so good.
He's the smartest character besides Sherlock on anything ever I've ever seen. I would say same level as Sherlock. He just uses it differently. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
Terrifyingly brilliant. I love that guy so much. So, that is my cheek, my adorable new Funko Pop doll. And also, you can be my cheek this week too, Nikki, because you're the best.
Aww. I'm so cheeky.
I'm so changeable. All right, cheekies, that's our episode. You can keep up with us on Twitter at SomeCheek, Facebook.com/SomeCheek, and Instagram at Something Cheeky Podcast. Please visit our website to find all of our Cheeks of the Week, learn about our other shows on popular books, TV shows, and movies, and send us questions and feedback at somethingcheekypodcast.com.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider making a donation to help us cover our production costs. Just click the donate button on our website at somethingcheekypodcast.com. If you can't donate, leaving a review on iTunes also helps a huge amount. And we'll read your review on air.
Yay!
So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Dig-a-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.